Welcome, Luis Palacios, to Home is Where the Dark is.
Thank you very much.
How are you, man?
I'm good, man.
Looking sharp,
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
like the hat. And you finally cut your hair after so many years. How are you liking that?
It's good. When was it? I think maybe a year ago. My hair started doing this curly thing in the top, and I really hated that.
A cowlick?
I don't know. It just curled, like, cause my hair used to be nice and straight, back in high school, and then as I got older, it started to curl and get wavy. But yeah, it just every time I woke up, it just this thing, and no matter, even if I like straightened it, it would still like form, and I was so annoyed by that. And then my hair just started getting damaged, and I was like, no, I think it's time. Also, like when I ate, getting
Yeah, that's
you know
that's a pain in the ass.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I cut it, and yeah, I'm letting it grow again because I kind of miss the long hair.
Yeah.
But maybe not as long as I had it before, but just give it a little length.
Sure is very like refreshing at first, huh? Just like not having all the weight and like
Yeah.
feeling a little lighter and less time in the shower, right? Less hair
Mainly in the
washing.
back of the neck, like there's a lot of sweat, and you're just like, fuck, man.
Yeah. Yeah, like for the longest time I would always have my hair down, but like the past couple of years I just started wearing it up, and I'm not quite ready to get rid of it yet. But I know at some point I will. I don't know when, but at some point I'm shaving the whole fucking thing off.
And it's shorter, right? Or
No.
is it just in a bun, kind of in a?
It's just back. I either have it like in a ponytail or just put it in a bun because it
But what's the length of it like right now?
like here, like
Oh,
like
okay,
here.
okay.
Yeah,
It
it's
just
still
looks
it's still pretty
flush.
long. I just
Yeah.
don't wear it down that much anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hair, dude. It's important. It's important for metalheads, right?
Right. That's the
You
image.
still got the gnarly goatee, so that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not coming off. This is not coming off because it's hiding some double chin here, so it's not coming off. It's staying. I know the kids love it in school. Like they're just like, you look. One of them called me Jack Black.
Perfect.
I was like,
School
oh,
of Rock.
like cool, but yeah, it's just part of me now. Like I've had this thing for a long, long time. And I've trimmed it and stuff, and then I've had it long, like super long, but it's not coming off.
So did you just keep your goatee like ever since you were able to grow it, or did you like grow it out and cut it off like over the years, or?
There was only one time when I completely like cut it off, but then that was the last time because then I saw myself.
You're like, no.
I'm like, if I mess up, like I need to grow this thing out again. And after that, it's been long, trimmed, but long. Like it's not going anywhere.
Looks good. It looks really good. So yeah, I mean, so for people, for everyone that doesn't know, like you're a teacher. So when you said like when you just mentioned kids, so as people know, you've been doing that for many years. Like how has your experience been with that? Like, and what have you seen change over the years?
So I've been doing this for over 10 years. Most of the time I was spent as an aide for special education. And in the past, I'm going on my 4th year of actually having my own class, a special day class. So all the students stay with me the whole day except for electives. And yeah, like the whole kind of looking back at when I was in school and like what school is now, drastic changes there's more awareness of a lot of things. But I also kind of miss some of that strictness that I grew up with, which I think now kids have a lot of power, which is good. It's good and bad because sometimes you're just trying to do your job and a student may interfere with that by bringing up, oh, well, this and that, like you're stressing me out. And as soon as they say something like that, counselor comes in like, oh, and they try to like make a big deal out of it when that the student's just trying to like not
Flex.
do something. Yeah.
Flex their power they know they have. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like you have to be very careful what you say these days compared to
for
back when
sure.
we were in school, right? Because like when you said you missed the strictness, like I totally understand what you mean. Because yeah, it seemed a little bit more hard, at least when I was in school, and yeah, it was the teachers were a bit more like not aggressive, but like they were more stern and a little bit like bit more strict, like you said. And
Yeah.
if it just seems like you're walking on eggshells these days, like with in the classroom, like as a
Yeah.
teacher, as a parent as well, like you have to be very careful, like what you say and all that. So what do you mean, like when you say you miss the strictness, like what kind of examples do you mean?
Just like you could, like if you were like really, really firm with the student, they understood like, okay, like it's because I messed up because I did this or I didn't do that. Now, if you try to be firm with them, they give attitude like, well, why should I be doing that? Or why are you making me do this? It's like, dude, like you're in middle school and you're reading at a first grade level. Probably this is why I'm telling you to
Yeah,
do this, you
yeah,
know? And it's, yeah, it's really tough. It makes the job harder because I feel like this is why a lot of teachers are leaving because not just like this, the whole climate, but administration now doesn't want to really get involved as much as they did back then. Like a parent comes in complaining, like they're gonna do whatever it takes to make that parent happy.
right.
They don't really back up teachers as much as they used to. Now it's like, okay, well, this kid just threw a book at you. What did you do to piss the kid off? It's like, whoa, why did I have to do something? The kid just threw the book at me because I told him to sit down or something, right?
Yeah,
And it sucks. This is again why a lot of people are leaving. Like we had subs at our school, like 2 or 3 subs that were there the whole year because we couldn't fill the positions.
wow,
My understanding is coming into this year, we're gonna have more subs because people aren't really applying for the jobs.
damn.
So it sucks. It's tough.
So do you feel like in the recent years, like more teachers are having to kind of just take more abuse in their job, maybe
Oh, for
mainly
sure.
from the students, and from the faculty and
Yeah.
the staff, because like you said, if a kid throws a book at you, the your boss comes in or the parents are like, well, what did you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of being like going to the kid and be like, look, this is inappropriate, don't do it.
Yeah.
Instead of like being an adult and like not scolding the kid, but being like, hey, this is inappropriate. They turn around and look at you.
Yeah.
So do you feel that when do you think that like that shift started, and do you think it's like where do you feel it comes from? Is it like the way like the Gen Zers have been raised, or like the internet, or like the parents, like or a combination of all of that, or what do you think?
I think it's a combination, but I think it also there have been at least a couple of cases that I remember in the news where students were like not students, like children were really badly abused, and some of them died. So I think a lot of the times it was like, well, didn't the teachers see this, and why didn't they say something before? Or social workers, why didn't they flag the parents? So I think all of this brought more awareness to like mental health, and kind of thinking about it, like, yeah, it is good to be aware of that because yeah, sometimes you don't know what's going on in these kids' lives, and then if you come down hard on them too, like it might be just a bad day, right?
Yeah.
So I think that awareness, the way there's a lot of young parents, and a lot of young parents leave their kids to their grandmas and grandpas, so they're not really there because they have to work. But grandma and grandpa are older now, so they're also not really. It's like, okay, well, here's the iPad or here's the TV, here's your phone,
Exactly.
and it's
Yeah.
like, well, they're not being raised anymore. Like I've heard it from some parents that it's like, well, it's your job to raise, like almost raise my child, or like teach them values. It's like, no, dude, like that comes from home.
Right.
We're here to educate them,
Right.
and to be good people. That whole part of raising, that's your job. Like
Of course.
the
Yeah.
morals, the values, that comes from home. Like
Mm-hmm.
if it's not coming from there and they come in here, they're gonna act a certain way, and it's like, well, no, That's not our job. So I think sometimes some parents, some families believe that that's what the school is for, to do that, or what teachers are for. It's like, no, like,
Where do you think that idea is coming from? Why do you think some parents think that?
oh man, I think maybe they just don't want to admit that, like, oh, I don't have the time to do it, and I don't have anyone else to do it, so then I'm going to rely on the teachers to do it, or the school to do it.
That's too bad. Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah, and it's I think another major thing that has to do with it, and like the way kids are being raised in this generation, like Gen Z, like just what you said, like when certain parents are working too much, or they leave them with a grandparent, or they leave them with a nanny or whatever, and they're not getting as much attention as they need as a child to be properly brought up and taught morals and ethics and manners, etc. They're being left literally to their devices, their phones or an iPad. So it's like they're being raised and they're being taught through whatever's in the internet feed, whatever's on YouTube, which is terrifying. You know,
TikTok, man. Like, I'm not on it, and I don't care for it, but like all the kids in the school, like they always talk about it. Oh, this trend, this is, and it's just like, man. Like,
yeah. And what age do you feel is appropriate? Because it's inevitable. Like, you have to give your kid a phone at some point, right? So what age do you feel is? I still don't really know, to be honest. Like, if I had a kid, I wouldn't know like what was a good time to give your kid a phone, because once they have that phone, unless you like unless you have some kind of crazy apps or you know a lot about technology, you can put like a blocker on it, but they can still get around certain things. So what age do you think is a good age?
well, I think around middle school, but the thing is also, it's like, if I had a child, it would be like, cool, you're gonna get a phone, but it's only for emergencies. You're not allowed to use it in school. Once you get home, you're home, so you don't need it. So you give me the phone. So now there's control of, I have the phone now. So you're not going to be late at night, like searching things up or on TikTok or whatever. It's like, there has to be like, it's for safety reasons, right? Like, I want to know, like, if something happened, you can call me, whatever. But it's not for you to just go on it and just have it the whole day. Like a lot of these kids, like, as soon as because they're not allowed in school, and if they see it, they take it away. If they see it again, they keep it, and the parent has to come pick it up. But you see it as soon as they're out the gate, where everyone has their phone out, and it's like, man, like our phones didn't really. We had the flip phones, and I was in my junior year or senior year of high school, so they weren't like, you really had to have money if you had a cell phone,
Right?
Because they were expensive. The plans were expensive and all that stuff. So I didn't really have a cell phone until I think I was like 19. I was in college at that point now. But they were nothing compared to what we have now.
Right.
It was really just for texting and phone calls. That's it. There was no real internet surfing. But it was for those emergencies, right? I think now, again, it's used as not by everyone, but by many, it's like a parenting tool. Like, here, I've seen it with like little kids, toddlers, at the stores.
Yeah.
They have an iPad and they know how to use it.
They're insanely capable on those things. And like I've seen in stores, like I even had a friend, you know her, I won't disclose her live here, but her daughter, like I remember when she was raising her daughter, she was like, must have been like 4, like 3 or 4, on a fucking giant tablet playing like all these games. And I see lots of kids, like parents, like at the store with their kid, and they're on a tablet, but they're like they're on YouTube watching other people play video games. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
yes,
it's just,
when I give my kids free time in class, they love doing that. They love watching other people play. It's like, what are you doing?
yeah,
Like, I don't know. They get a kick out, and they can be on that thing for hours, just staring at other people playing. I don't get it.
I know, I don't know, but yeah, dude, it's I'm sure you deal with a lot of challenges in in your workplace. So props to you for like, because I know you're a great guy, you're a great person. So
Thank you.
props to you for like doing a great job and, as a teacher. And yeah, but I can't imagine, the difficulties you have to deal with that you've dealt with throughout the years of, being a teacher. So, but yeah, yeah, like what do you think is the future though for like as a teacher, like for students? Do you think it's gonna, to me it seems like it's gonna get to a breaking point with like kids and the, technology, and like it just it seems like it's getting very dangerous, like for mental health. You know what I
Oh, for
mean?
sure. Like, there's that cyberbullying. Like, it happens a lot in our school, and these some of these kids, sadly, it gets to them, and they go and try and hurt themselves and stuff like that, and it's like it sucks. It's um, and but again, I think going back, it's to our time, like it's all online, right? Like they're talking all the shit online because if I was in front of you, you probably wouldn't say those things. Very few people who say these things would say that to someone's face.
Yep.
Back then, you did that, well, you're gonna get your ass kicked.
That's why most people, they talk shit online, but they don't, and in the person's face, because they're little bitches, and they
Yeah.
know if they would literally have to fight this person, then they're fucked. So
But then it leads to, like, your question was the future. What's gonna happen? Well, I think a lot of these kids, when they become adults, they're not gonna have the capacity to deal with these real world situations where they meet someone in person and someone says something. They don't have thick skin as it is already. Like, they're, again, growing up, when we grew up, like, you had to have thick skin because there are people who were gonna tell you, like, oh, like I was told, like, fat ass so many times, and since elementary school. So you kind of grow up with that, and eventually you learn how to kind of like deal with all that crap. But like these kids now, it's like that's not going to be the case. Like, they're so vulnerable to emotions. Like, a lot of them, their emotions are just like not well balanced because of online stuff. So
yeah.
imagine, when they become adults, an emotionally unstable adult. I mean, we've seen them already.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So the whole generation that's coming up, of just a bunch of people like that, it's like, damn, you better like get it together, or you better like really see what the real world is and
Right.
be able to deal with that. Because if not, if this is how you deal with it right now, and if you grow up like that, then yeah, it's not going to go well for a lot of people.
Yeah. What about if you can't talk about this, that's cool, but I'm just curious because of the new, the whole transgender LGBTQ plus blah blah blah, like all that shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
are you briefed by like your staff? Like, is there specific things that maybe come from certain parts of the government that your staff, like everyone comes in for a meeting, be like, okay, we can't say this, we can't talk about this because of, you know what I mean? Are there specific things that you're
Yeah,
told, like, don't voice this opinion, don't, you know what I'm
right.
saying?
So no, we've never had a professional development or anything like that. In my old job, there was a little girl, and she was in kindergarten, who was transgendered, and only the people that had to know knew.
Mm,
If you didn't have to know, then you didn't know. And it wasn't until later on that I found out. I was like, oh wow, I had no clue, right? So I work it's a charter school, so we kind of have certain different ways of dealing with things or doing things that districts do. Like, I think districts, they have to reply, like, there are a lot more people at stake in the districts. Here we don't have as many, so we don't always do things the same way. But as of now, we haven't had a conversation about, okay, well, we do have, like, our school is a safe zone for everyone, right? Like, so, like, if a student said something like that, then we're really only the counselor and probably that teacher knows. Yeah. But yeah, no, it hasn't been something that has been really touched on where I work, at least. But yeah, I mean, I was having that conversation with my girlfriend, and she has very like conservative views on it, and I do too, but I'm also a little more open to certain things, and I know that there was this thing going on right now, and I forgot what city, where the big thing is now, should counselors and teachers let parents know, like if a student comes to them and tells them, I want to be this or I want to be that, do they have the right to just keep that to themselves or tell the parents? And the argument I had with my girlfriend was like, I get, as a parent, you would love to know, like you want to know this stuff, right? Like, but I also come from a Latino community where that isn't exactly always welcome. Like it's like, okay, open arms, like I get you, like like it's very, there's a lot of machismo going on there. So I get why some students would rather tell a teacher or a counselor than their parents.
Right. Yeah.
Because you have to think about, like, some parent, like some parents, you tell them something like that, like they might,
Daddy's not gonna
they might do something, right?
Yeah.
So I get it. Yes, a parent should know, but at the same time, we have to think about, like, well, isn't it always safe to tell a parent? Because there are some parents that are really hardcore and really conservative and be like, no, you're not, right? And they might do something to the child. So in that case, I feel like, well, maybe they shouldn't tell parents. So it's a very, I think, it's tricky.
I see your point. I think it's like, it's a case by case basis, right? So damn.
So it's tough times.
Yeah. Ever since we met, you've been down the journey of rock and metal guitar playing and music, and you started the band Eternally Yours, and we've done a lot of work together. You guys written a lot of songs, played a lot of shows. So tell me a little bit about what's going on now, and what we can expect, because I know we had worked on an EP. Was it last year already? Yeah. So, and I know we have, it's like 4 songs, 4 new songs. So is that ever going to be released, or are you just waiting for a specific moment, or like what's going on with the project?
Yeah. So we did those 4 songs. Right now, I think the thing is that the band wants to release it as singles. So I know, like, Gene has been picking up, our bass player has been picking up, using the AI stuff to create these cool, like, images for each single.
Nice.
So he sent us a few things, and I'm pretty much at the point where I'm like, whatever, like, you guys want, I'm cool with, but let's get these songs out, because like you said, it's been a year, and and I had the conversation with them too about like why has this taken so long, because we did those a while ago, these great songs, like I played them for some coworkers and they loved it, they thought it was awesome, sounding great. So we have these songs that I want to put out there, and I think it's just a matter of, like, at this point, really, I told them, like, just whatever you guys want to do, I'm cool with, but let's throw them out there, let's release them. Like, my idea was an EP. Let's just it's 4 songs, put it out there. Not too long after we had recorded them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just been taking a while, and like, I asked myself that same thing, like, when are these songs gonna get released? But yeah, I think it's we've agreed on some of the images. So as far as, like, a date to when they're gonna come out, like, I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Oh, good. Just curious, and because I know I want everyone to know, like, how you've been working on this music for so long, and not only these new songs, but like, you know, we did your first album together. We did, you know, a bunch of other singles, and you put a lot of time, energy, and love into this project. You know what I mean? So, have you been working on any of your own like solo material or like different projects this year? Or are you planning on doing anything like that in the future?
Yeah, I mean, this year it's been. I really haven't done a whole lot of music. Um, I think the last thing I came out with maybe was a year, 2 years ago or something, which more instrumental stuff. And yeah, I want to do that. I want to, because it's just me. Like I don't need to rely on someone else to play certain parts, and
Yeah.
instruments is just easy because I can't sing. I can't sing, so it's like well, and I'm a huge like melodies. I love melodies, and so yeah. Hopefully, as the year goes on, I'll get that feeling back, because for a long time I think I was not feeling musical. I know last year I didn't feel too musical. And then my mom passed away, and that definitely didn't feel. That was a few months ago, so I definitely didn't feel like doing anything regarding to music.
Yeah.
Just now, I'm kind of like starting to get back into it, and it's just a good way to express myself and kind of let out emotions and stuff. So yeah. Hopefully, I'll come up with stuff, because like a lot of the stuff, all the band stuff, you know, I created the music for that, and there was a time where I had come up with like 6 or 8 songs in like a month. I just dished them out, right? Because when it hits me, like it hits me like, all right, cool, I feel motivated, and I can. So I do kind of feel like that little wave is gonna come back, but just right now, because got to give it time. But
yeah, absolutely. So you guys you've played a lot of shows over the years. Like, what is one of your like standout? What would be one of your favorite shows you've done?
I think the Viper Room show, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Just because I think that the sound was the best there, as far as like for us to hear ourselves, and I think it had the best sound. And that was, I remember it just a lot of fun, that show. And it's the Viper Room. It's, you know, like I never thought I would be playing there, so it was really cool. And but you know, like kind of the opposite of that, the worst I remember.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
The worst I remember was, I think it was at a certain club, and that was the first time you came to see us. Actually, you and Jordan came to see us at that show.
Which one?
It was in Hollywood.
Which show is it? I can't remember the name of the venue.
I don't want to say it, but it starts with a B.
Why can't I remember?
Really?
Bar Sinister? No,
it wasn't.
Bordel.
Yeah.
No. Bordello?
Bordners?
Bordners. Oh, duh. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember.
Oh, yeah.
We were like, yeah, you know.
That's without a bass player, right?
No, Gene was there already. Wait, was Gene there?
What? This was a while ago, right?
Yeah, he was there. Yeah.
He was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember it was cool. We met up at Velvet Margarita. Remember that?
Yeah.
It's closed now, right?
I don't know. I don't party anymore.
Yeah. And
that was a good spot though.
Yeah,
I loved it.
It was like, I love the aesthetics of it.
Yeah.
And I remember we went, and you know, when there was a huge crowd because of the other bands that were playing. I forgot. The thing with these shows, right? It's like it's a variety show. Like you get, sometimes you're playing with hip hop artists or show tunes at one time. Like it's just random.
Yeah.
You know, random bill that it's like, here you go. So we were the last ones, I think, but a lot of people, you know, were still there. It was crowded. It was pretty crowded. It was probably like one of the bigger crowds that we had, and I remember that I always put Sarah and myself, like, we get nervous. Like I would get nervous, so get nervous, you know, drink a little. We had one too many of those, one too many Jack and Cokes, And we got on, and I remember everything was good up to the point where there was two incidents that happened, and one was that Sarah, I accidentally bumped into Sarah, and she detuned my guitar. So
Yay.
I remember I was like, oh shit, and I'm like trying to like, you know, turn on the tuner, didn't work. Of course it didn't work. I was like, oh no way, not now. The second thing that happened is that, you know, all of our songs are they have a click track, so there's an order to it because of the lights. Right, I programmed all the lights, so everything has to be sequential.
Right.
So I had drank so many that I forgot the order of the song.
Oh shit.
So I started playing something, and I remember the drummer back then. He kind of looked at me, and I remember he was like yelling something at me, but I couldn't hear. Like, you know, it's not a big stage. So I was like, I just nodded. I'm like, yeah, yeah. I thought he was saying like, yeah, let's do this, right? And he just kept looking at me, and then I didn't really notice, but until he told me after that he had turned the track off because I started playing. I skipped a song,
Oh shit.
so I started playing something else. I mean, luckily he was able to save it, but I believe, if I'm not wrong, I think Sarah still sang the lyrics to the other song,
Wow.
but
Wow.
no one knew the song, so it didn't really matter. But it wasn't until after the show, because I remember as soon as my guitar went out of tune and I couldn't tune it because the tuner was broken. It went downhill from there, and we still had
Shit.
like 4 songs left, and they were all with that one guitar.
Damn.
So I remember just like it was bad, man. It was so bad, and yeah, and then finally, like once we cleared up and we're talking about it, Sarah and I were just kind of like, what did we do? Like, like, you know, that was stressful, and I remember the drummer back then, he was mad, and we'd never seen him mad, and he was like, you guys fucked up.
Everyone has a nightmare show, so
Yeah.
it's only
Do you
up
have
here.
one?
Yeah, nothing that intense, but I've had a couple of times where like, where I wasn't able to really like hear my guitar and monitors. So sometimes even when like, you know, even when you tune up really quick, like in between every song, you know, most guitar players are checking their tuning, right? But yeah, like I had something like happen too, where like I one of the singers like bumped into me and it was slightly out of tune, but since I couldn't hear my guitar that well, I couldn't tell it was like slightly flat. So I played a song or two like slightly out of tune, but
Oh, yeah.
nothing like gnarly has happened where, you know, anything has broken or like stopped working, fortunately. But yeah, I think, yeah, everyone goes through that, and, you know, you just, that's part of it. You know, you're going to have one or two or many of those shows, like as you go in your career. But yeah, dude, I'm trying to, do you remember what year that was, the Bordner show? Cause I was probably intoxicated myself is why I don't remember.
Nah, man. Honestly, the years all blend in. Yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, that was yeah. After that, we're like, yeah, let's keep drinking. Might as well. We already like fucked up the show.
Yeah, we've had quite a few fun intoxicated evenings together, playing shows and just hanging out. I remember there was one show you guys played at the Federal, and it was upstairs.
Oh yeah.
And then we were backstage in that really cool backstage area with like we had, you know,
had a full bar,
and then we had a bunch of like Japanese whiskey going.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was a good one. And yeah, it was so many fun nights though. So many fun party nights, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. But those days are behind me.
Yeah. You know what? I don't. I mean, I don't. I think the last time I went out to a club was in February. No, sorry. Sometime in October of last year. And before that, I think that was the first time I'd gone out that whole year. But yeah, I'm not a fan anymore. Like one, I get tired pretty fast. I go out, like, just the process of
Yeah.
like leaving the house sometimes is just like, oh, gotta deal with traffic,
Yep.
parking, people.
Yeah.
And then you get there. I think not especially like now, like that club has changed so much. Where it's just
Which club?
sinister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just like when I first started going there, it was completely different. It was the people who were running it were older, and it was still had this like goth vibe to it. The crowd was older too. I mean, their average maybe in their late 30s. It was about the average, and there were, yeah, it was, the music was so good. And then years later, because I've been, I started going there when I was probably 22, and I went there for many years. And then they lowered the age limit to 18. And I remember it went to shit because there's a lot of drunken 18-year-olds running around. And I was like, oh, this is annoying. And I was like, no, I can't. And I stopped going for a while. Then I would every now and then go, and I just didn't like the crowd really. It's a younger crowd. Probably how the older people felt when I was going. Like, oh, this kid. But yeah, it's just no. I think back then it was really like the people who went knew why they were going. Knew they were really about that.
Right.
About that whole subculture.
Mm-hmm.
I think now the people are going because like, oh, cool. Now I can tell my friends I went to this this club, and now I was goth for a night or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just people that are just going. It's another club now. Just another. It kind of lost its. To me, it lost what it was before.
I don't remember the last time I went. It's been a while. Definitely before COVID. We had our fun, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I'm glad to hear like you kept your job for so long, like you're in your relationship, like partying less, just like taking care of yourself. It's we're getting older, so
Yeah, man. Everything hurts.
everything hurts.
Everything. You know what? I'm actually getting a shot on the bottom of my heel because I have plantar fasciitis. So I wake up every morning, and when I step, it feels like I'm stepping on needles.
Oh no.
So
I just watched a show called oh fuck, it's on like just TLC or Discovery. It's one of those apps, but it's a show just about people with foot problems, kind of like Dr. Pimple Popper, but for feet.
Okay.
And it shows some gnarly shit on there. Like I watched one the other night where this guy had like all of his toes were completely fungus rotted out and like really bad. I know some people have a little bit, but it was just extremely bad. So they like numbed up his whole foot, and they showed the whole thing. Like it was really gory and fucked up. I was not prepared for it, but she just goes in, this female doctor, and she just like slowly rips the whole nail off. And it was so gnarly. Yeah, I can't remember the exact name of the show, but yeah, fuck that. Yeah, gotta take care of your feet.
Yeah.
Okay, don't ignore your feet because you don't want that shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's foot pain and lower back pain is what I've had for many years, and it wasn't until maybe 8 years ago where I realized how debilitating back pain can be.
Yeah.
Like if your back doesn't work, you can't do anything. Like your feet will not work properly. It's bad. And I was like, wow, like I can only imagine if I had even worse pain, like I wouldn't be able to do anything. So like, yeah, you got to take care of yourself. As you get older, you have to really take your vitamins.
Yeah. And I think too, like, when I was, younger and in my 20s, like, you get until you can realize like, okay, I can't get away with this anymore. Like, ignore like, I guess if you're super clean and like very OCD about your body, which I know you can be that way when you're younger, but like I wasn't, doing pedicures and like taking care of my feet like perfectly every day like I do now. But if I know a lot of people, like when they just ignore things with their body for so many years until it's like major problems that you can't ignore, and it's like, oh shit, now you have to go in and have all these problems. And but yeah, like feet is a big one because it's so easy to like ignore your feet. Like you just get in the shower and like cut your toenails here and there. But yeah, stuff can really, really like creep up on you.
Yeah,
slowly.
for sure.
Yeah.
Like if you don't, and I'm one of those that, like, I in my 20s, like, I'll just, whatever, it's this is that. What you just let it go. Eventually, like, it goes away, but you don't know the damage it's doing, and then it comes back as you get older. You're like, oh snap! I probably should have like had that checked out before.
Right.
But definitely now, like I've been going to the doctor more often because it's like, okay, well, it's like, well, this isn't right, or like, what is that? I better get that checked out.
Yeah, good, man.
Yeah, man. But health,
you gotta stay on it. I mean, we have the potential to live like you could live so much longer than like what's the average man lives till what is it like 75 or something like that. But we have the potential to live so much longer if we just like take care of ourselves every day and go in and not put things off. Like you said, you're going to the doctor more, and I know like most people are like dread going to the doctor, but if you can just kind of go in every 6 months and do your thing, just you can catch things before it's too late,
Yeah, and I've never been one that like I'm scared of the doctor, but I hate waiting.
Yeah,
that's the part that makes me not want to go. It's like I have to wait there because they tell you a time, but you're not going to be seen at that time. You still probably have to wait another half hour. It's just like, oh. So the waiting game, I hate that. Like I don't mind seeing the doctor and having them check me out, but it's just like waiting. I hate that.
No, it's really annoying to me is when you go in. Okay, you call to make an appointment, and they go, "Okay, why are you coming in?" You tell them why. You show up. You check in. They're like, "Okay, why are you here?" Oh well, I told you before. Don't you take notes?
Yeah,
it's
didn't you
in the
write
system.
It down?
It's there, but they ask you again. Then you get into the room, and the nurse is there. It's like, "Okay, why are you here today?" It's like, this is the third time I've said while I'm here. They think that's just a part of their protocol, of course, but that's
so you
that
think I'm
annoys
gonna
me.
lie and change it up all of a sudden?
Yeah. But yeah, yeah, I try to go in and I try to be good about, okay, dentist every 6 months, doctor every year minimum, and just to be, be an adult. But yeah, it's.
And I mean, you also stopped drinking too, and I'm sure that like has helped out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's extreme difference. Because I used to be able to. Well, I wasn't really able to get up early before I stopped drinking. Like I think the average I would get up during the week was like 8. But now, and it would take me like a good 30 minutes to an hour to like fully wake up, But now it's I get up at 6:30 and I'm just like ready to go, just like fucking full of energy. And it didn't happen. It took like maybe a year to get to that point after I stopped drinking, but it's been a little over 2 years now, and I feel better than I did in my 20s, dude. Not even kidding. Yeah, it's insane. I just have so much energy and mental clarity, and it's
like you remember the night before.
True. Yeah, there's no more blackouts. Yeah, fuck that, man. But
and how's your sleep? Like,
perfect.
Sleep pretty good, yeah.
Perfect. Go to bed at like most of the time between like 10:30 and midnight. Go to bed. Get up at 6:30. That's during the week. On the weekend, I'll sleep in a little bit till like 8 maybe, but go to bed at midnight to 1. But yeah, it's pretty steady, man.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm working, I'm pretty consistent. Getting out definitely, but you know what? I used to get a lot of sleep paralysis.
You know what? I've had that quite a few times, and that is terrifying.
Dude.
That is terrifying.
I had it one time, all of summer, every night.
Every night?
I didn't want to go to sleep anymore. Like I would sleep with the TV on, hoping to just stay awake. But once like as soon as my eyes would shut, like I felt it. It was the worst. It's the worst feeling. Like there was one time where I felt like someone was like on top of me, just like not letting go.
It's the demon,
dude.
Yeah.
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 You know what's crazy? A few of those times, like I felt like because I sleep on my side sometimes. So a few of the times I felt them like sneak up behind me. And a few of the times I felt like they're trying to grab my butt.
Really?
Like I felt, because this is all a dream, I guess, right?
Maybe it was a succubus.
Dude, but I felt like they were pulling down my shorts. Like I felt like I was gonna get butt fucked, dude.
Wow.
Like, and this was not like one time. This was multiple times.
Yeah, that's
like,
a lot. I'm thinking now. I think I haven't had it since I stopped drinking. So I think it has to. For me, I think the drinking was linked to it because I remember every time I had it, it was like a night of some kind of drinking. It was never it never happened when I was sober. So I don't know.
Like I read it happens if you mess with your sleeping cycle. And during summer, I was sleeping later. So I think that's what was happening. And every night, man, it was the worst. The worst.
Yeah, that is very, like, the first time that happened to me, I was so terrified. But then, like, you get used to it. But it's still, every time, it's very shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so how about we go into, this is the themed question of the podcast. The question is, what was one of the darkest periods in your life/career, and what did you do to overcome it?
I think it was definitely when I was in my 6-year relationship. Remember her, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It was a roller coaster. And during that time, one of the big things that came out of that relationship was my ability to communicate with people more. Oh, with a partner. Because that was one of my biggest thing. I couldn't, like, I would shut down. Like, there was something that happened, a little argument, I would shut down. And I would physically not be able to, like, if I knew, like, all right, we had an argument, I shut down. She's trying to, like, say, like, why are you, like, not talking to me? She's, like, trying to figure out what the hell's happening, what just happened. I physically was not able to speak. It was, I could hear it in my head, and I can say it in my head what I wanted to, like, tell her, but I physically could not open my mouth. And obviously that just created more problems. I can't communicate, so we get upset. So that happened a lot during that relationship, the first 3-4 years. So during that time, we were always arguing. It was a lot of, like, back and forth stuff, and I started drinking a lot, like a lot. Like, I realized that relationship was kind of putting me in depression. So I was like, because sometimes she would, like, break up with me for a little bit, and my world would, come tumbling down. And so I had, so I was drinking a bottle of Jack, like I'd polish one off in like 2 days, but I would keep it in my closet so no one would in my family would know that I was drinking, and I would only drink it at night. And at some point, when I took all the bottles out, I had like 9, 10, 12 bottles or something like that in the closet. But it was such a bad relationship, and it wasn't, all her. Like, we both were at fault for whatever, our lack of communication. But because of that, I remember going in deep depression, drinking, and in order to calm the thoughts in my head and calm my anger of what was the situation or my disappointment, I would cut myself a lot. So I felt it as a relief, right? Like, I couldn't tell her how angry I was. I knew if I told her or how upset I was, she wouldn't understand, and she would, what we now know as gaslighting, is what would happen. So I was like, well, I can't say anything. I gotta keep quiet. But all this build up, I was like, well, I have to release it somehow. And it was either with alcohol or cutting. And with cutting, like I felt like that you have this anger, and I would do it, and it relieved that those thoughts for the moment, like this pain, this anger, everything for that time. I mean, obviously, that wasn't the answer. So I did that a lot for a few years that we were together, and it would always happen around summer because during summer at that time I wouldn't have a job because my job school ends and I don't have a job. So I think a lot of it was, but also like money, right? Like
Yeah.
we can't go anywhere. Like I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, providing whatever. So during that time too, because of all the heavy drinking and we're going out, I got my first DUI in that time. So it's like the relationship stuff, the depression. Now I got a DUI. Now it's like I seriously do that. That time was the worst because it was like everything is just fucking just falling apart. Everything was falling apart. You know, I felt, and at that time, I definitely felt more of like, oh, I just let my family down. Right, got that DUI. I was like, I just let my family down. That's really what I was thinking about. It wasn't even about her or myself or anything else. It was like, well, like my family, like my parents, like, you know, like this is embarrassing. This is hard. Like they didn't need to go through this. And that, like, I felt like that was like a boot to my neck. Like, oh, there's now I'm really in the depression now. Now it was more drinking. There was more arguments with my girlfriend. There was more cutting, and it really for a long time felt like, how am I going to get out of this? And it really was like one of the worst experiences of my life, where you feel like from all around you just like life is just really just beating the crap out of you at that time. I don't remember how I eventually got out of it. I mean, because I was with that person still for another 3 or 4 years. But I think what I ended up learning as I went through the relationship was how to communicate. Because I realized if we got in an argument through text, there was times where she wouldn't text me back for 2 weeks. And even if I didn't do anything, or even if it wasn't my fault, like she wouldn't. So I was like, I kind of felt like, well, why should I reach out? Like I didn't do anything wrong, but I knew she wouldn't. She's very like stubborn like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized a lot of these arguments are happening because of communication, lack of communication. So towards maybe the last 2 years or 3 years of the relationship, I realized I would get upset at something, little argument, and then I would be like, I would think about it and be like, all right, look, I know this process already. We know this process. We're gonna get upset. She's not gonna talk to me for a week, 2 weeks, whatever. And the weeks started getting longer too. So I was like, let me just right now say what I have to say, clarify some things, any misconceptions she might have of what's happening, and then kind of let her know like, it's cool. Talk to me. I'm not gonna get upset. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the last 2-3 years, that's how I kind of learned to be better at it. Because those fights would still happen, but after talking to her, like, hey, blah, 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 this, and that, she was like, oh, like, okay, like, I get it. And I was like, see, like, we just saved ourselves like 3 weeks of not talking to each other over some miscommunication.
Yeah.
You know, that relationship didn't work out, but those tools now I've used, you know, still to now, like, to this day, like, how to communicate. And I'm not the best. I'm not perfect at it. There's still times where I'm just like in my own head, but it's nothing close to how it was back then. Because that whole thing just put me in a place where all of the lack of communication just put me in a place where it was like, I don't want to be there again. Because it seriously felt like I was drowning.
Wow. Yeah, man. Thank you for sharing that. I totally feel you there. I mean, communication is so important, not only in, our intimate relationships, but, with just life in general. And I think it's so easy um, to get into a habit of maybe not communicating in the best way or enough. And I still catch myself kind of looking back on certain things or just in my current relationship, like, wow, like I could have just been a little bit more clear, clarified a little bit more of what I meant, or
Mm-hmm.
and I think too is, as, I think a lot, maybe more with men, because we're not as expressive and we don't express ourselves, emotionally as much as women, but I don't communicate as much when it's a day to day, like monotonous thing. It's like, well, I wanted to hear about your day. I wanted to hear about everything that was going on. In my head, it's like, well, it's the same thing as yesterday. You want me to just like keep telling you the same thing over and over and over? And then I've learned over the years, like, well, it's not about like what you're communicating a lot of the time. It's just about like that you're showing the other person that you want them, like you're showing the other person that, hey, like I'm thinking about you. I
Mm-hmm.
want you to know how my day was. I want you to know, like, ask them about their day, all that stuff. Even if it's the same shit every day, just that connection is what is so important. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not always about the details, right? So, but yeah, I think so many people struggle with that.
Yeah.
And it seems so simple, but it isn't,
No, it's
every,
hard.
yeah, yeah. Did you ever like realize or did you ever come to a realization of like what it was that was like locking you up, like not allowing you to communicate?
Yeah, a lot of it was my own thoughts. Like they just ran, like it could be something insignificant, but as soon as like that seed was planted in my head, it would grow into this massive tree. And it's like it would just my thoughts would get away from me. So I things that weren't even a thing or that weren't really happening, sometimes I pictured them and I had scenarios in my head. So I'm in my head a lot. Like and it still happens. Um I still get in my head, and I think that all of that going on in here kind of locked me up from being able to clear that stuff
Mm-hmm.
and really say what I wanted to say. Um, but yeah, I get in my head like a lot, and that's sucks, man.
That is so that is so huge, because I think I do the same thing. I know so many people do the same thing, where it's like we create situations in our head before they happen. And oftentimes, maybe we think of the worst case scenario or
Mm-hmm.
close to the worst case. And it's like we're creating this false reality, and our mood and our attitude is based off of what we're thinking in our head. And most of the time it's completely insane. Like
Yeah.
that's not going to happen. It could happen, but like 99% of the time, these things we think up in our head of scenarios that what could happen in the future, 99.9% of the time, they don't ever happen.
Yeah.
So, oh man, I think so many people do that. I definitely do that.
And
So,
it's funny
yeah.
because I think if you like, there's been times where I've talked to my partner about it, and she's like that's not at all what like it was just this or that. I was like, oh, I created a whole thing, a whole world in my head about what was happening.
Yeah.
And she's oblivious to it. She's like, no, it was just this is what happened. I was like, fuck, like it's like just this buildup of stuff that it's like why, like I and it just automatically go there. It just go there, and it's tough to get out of it. And I think some of it was, I think, kind of what I realized because it wasn't happening like when I was single for a long time, um, and I was like really thinking I had control over these emotions and the communication part. And then I got together with my girlfriend, and there was times where that old me came back and those thoughts spiraled, and I did go back to not being able. And I was like in my head, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like I thought I was past this. Like I again. And I was like, and then I realized it's like no, like it's still a constant work. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's constantly have to work on that. And also like realize, and something my buddy told me was like you kind of have to learn how to like don't rely on others to bring you the happiness.
So
um
true.
don't let their mood control your mood and all, like kind of like, do you be happy with you? Because you can't always, if you're not there yet, being with someone else, you're going to give them a lot of power of how over yourself.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think to some degree, I did that with this new relationship. And not now, I mean, it's still a young relationship. We've got together in November of last year. And for many months, like I felt like, oh crap, I'm doing that again. Like I'm giving her all this power, and it's not like she's like like, oh yeah, this is not what she wants. Not she's, but I'm doing it. It just went back to old things. It's like, here you go, like, oh, your mood like this, you did that, and now I'm like feeling a certain way, and it's like she's oblivious to anything that's going on, and it's not her fault. It's just me that creates these things and creates these energies that are not there. But like the past couple months is like learning again to be like, I need to be cool with just me. Like if this relationship ended, like I need to know I'm gonna be okay. Like, and I'm gonna keep doing me, and I'm gonna keep doing that. And I think once I realize that, it's like, okay, cool. Like I'm gonna approach this relationship differently now. Not just be like, here, because I'm gonna do the wears my heart on my sleeve. Like I will tell you how I feel about you, and I will show it to you. And I've kind of learned like can't always do that, because not that she has bad intentions, but like I need to sometimes not fully go all out
Right.
with certain things, and just be like, okay, like if again I need to be okay with myself. Like I need to be happy just being me alone if need be. Once I realize that, it's like, okay, cool. Like I can be in this in a more healthy way than instead of my mind just flying. And like luckily the last month and a half, like I feel like I'm gaining control of that now. Like where it's like, cool. I don't need to hear from you every like 6 hours or 5 hours, whatever. Like cool. Like you're doing your thing. I'm doing my thing. I'm fine. I'm not creating shit in my head about what you're doing, because I know she's not like that. But yeah, man, it's just your mind, your emotions, like they take over. Like if they take over me, like, and I'm sure a lot of people, like they just sometimes they just don't let you go about your day.
I totally feel you, man. And I think a lot of people struggle with this kind of thing. And from my experience, it's all about, I've been through all kinds of different relationships and similar struggles like what you've just described. And I think it's just it's about learning about the correct balance, because each person and each relationship, you have to approach it differently. Like the more you learn about someone, the more you learn about how, what's the best dynamic and the best balance for this person. And then I realized, you can't give too much power, but you can't not give a fuck too much, because for me, it's like going in between, because if you don't give a fuck, if you don't like give a lot of fucks, then, your partner might not think, oh, well, he or she doesn't really even care about what I'm doing or where I'm going or how I'm feeling. So what the fuck? But then if you care too much, it backfires on you.
Oh, yeah.
So it's about finding that middle ground,
For sure.
As I get older and as I become more confident in myself and just feel more secure, like as an individual, like the more I just kind of let things go. Yeah, like you said, do you, and feel good about yourself. But it can be hard, and even when you think you've improved, and you start a new relationship, but this person challenges you in a different way, so you have to reassess things. And so I think as long as we work on it every day and we try and be as conscious as possible every day of like how can we be better, how can we show up better for our family, our partners, and etc. So yeah, man. Well, shit. Before we wrap it up, is there anything else you want to touch on, or anything you want to plug for the listeners?
Stay tuned for the music. It's I think the Instagram thing is Eternally Yours Band.
Cool. I'll put
Maybe?
it. I'll
I
put it
think,
into
I
the
don't
links.
remember.
Yeah.
And mine is Sinister Urge, and Instagram as well. Yeah, but man, I appreciate you having me, man. Like
Of course.
it's been a while, and
Yeah.
you know, I was grateful for you to let me know and come down, and appreciate it, man. Appreciate
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Great to talk to you and catch up a little bit. I know it's been a while, but yeah, it's been, we've been friends for a long time, and we've done a lot of fun projects together, and we've learned a lot about each other over the years, and we've shared a lot of great moments. So I was like, yeah, I got to get Lewis in here because you're a great guy, and you've always been a positive light in my life. So I appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Right on, man. Well, everyone, check out Lewis on Instagram. Links below, and see ya. Thanks.
All right, man. Thanks.